Yo, people, and welcome to another episode of Through a Different Lens podcast. I am your co-host, Joe, and right now we got a special guest with us, my boy, my little bro. You get me? Do you want to introduce yourself, bro?
My name's Josh. Watch a lot of sport, love a lot of sport. Known Joe, probably 6 years now.
Yeah, I think it is
2020
about.
or 2019, maybe 2020. Probably
It
2020.
was just before COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 7 then.
So quite a long time really. And then just probably bonded over our love for sport, I guess.
Yeah. No, literally. And I could say without fail, Josh is probably the person that I speak to. He's up there in the top 5 to 10 people that I speak to on a either a daily basis or every other day, or we talk at least every week, because there is some form of a sporting event going on, and we share a lot of similar interests, and even some of the other sports that we don't. We're trying to get each other into those sports, which we're going to touch upon, i.e., golf. So those that follow me on socials would have seen that I watched the Masters recently, and I'm trying to get Josh on the NFL and NBA wave because that's what we're heavily on as well. So yeah,
One day.
one day. All right, cool. We're just gonna actually, first of all, how you doing? Because we always check up, do a check in on whoever's recording. So how you doing? How's your week going? We're in what, mid-April now. We don't know when this episode's gonna come out, but hey, such is life. Everything blessed.
No, I'm good. Yeah, I mean, hopefully the weather gets a bit better. Now we're heading into summer, holiday season, so things getting a bit brighter. So yeah, no, looking F1 season is well and truly flying, so looking forward to it.
Definitely, yeah. No, for sure. Especially with this unexpected big break within the F1 season. But hey, I think the Miami race is it the 3rd of May? So
Yeah, a couple of weeks, I think. Yeah.
yeah, still got a few weeks for that one. So we saw our goat Lewis at Coachella with his lady on the side, Kim K. So hopefully Lewis has a good break with that. But yeah, we're just gonna go straight into the golf, like I said, the sport that I'm really trying to get into. We'll see about that. But the Masters, obviously last year, on the final day, I did watch that one, and I kept on messaging you, and then I said I'll give more of an effort this year. And this year, I believe I've done a decent amount of watching over the weekend. Um, and I was bombarding you with messages, but Rory McIlroy going back to back and creating some form of history. What did you think of him throughout the weekend and the feat that he's somewhat accomplished?
I mean, it's obviously very impressive what he's done. I think it's almost more impressive that I don't think he was quite at his best this week either. Because I think you look at some of the stats, and I think he scored better than probably what he played, and he'd probably admit that himself. Because I think, especially after the 3rd round, he was on the range for hours after the round because you dropped that 6-shot lead. So I think it's just as much a testament to him of, he's not been at his best and he's still got over the line in probably one of the most difficult tournaments to win in golf. So, I mean, it took him 16, 17 years to win one. So then to win two is quite impressive, to be honest.
Yeah. What is it about like Augusta that you think is hard for golfers, or maybe Rory in particular, before he got over the hump last year?
I think with Augusta, it's one of them where there are low scores out there. You can, we saw it in the first couple of days where he was 12 under through the first 2 days. But then I think you can easily shoot a 4 or 5 over at the same time, just because I think experience around Augusta does play a huge amount. Because I think it's designed very well in the fact that if you miss in the wrong place, you're heavily punished. And I think, it's the only golf tournament that goes back to the same place every year. So you would think logically that the score should get better and better as players get used to it. But I think they managed to just get the course in the right condition where it's challenging enough that they get punished, but at the same time, you do get rewarded for your good shots. So I think Yeah, it's definitely probably the best golf course out there. I think if everyone had every golfer had a one choice to play one course, it would definitely. I think 99% of people would probably choose Augusta, um,
Mm,
just because it's just such an iconic course that obviously they go back to every year.
yeah, fair. Out of the majors, from you as a viewer and a big golf fan, what one would you say is the hardest before we go back? What like major or what course is the hardest, including obviously the Masters?
I'd, I would probably say the Masters just because of the history of it, and I think I think if you ask players, I think they probably feel the most pressure. If you're
Hmm.
leading going into the back nine, I think that's the one where they probably feel the most under pressure. Because the whole green jacket, it's going back
Yeah,
there every year. I think it does probably it's the one that probably weighs the most in terms of
right.
accomplishment. So I think you see a lot of bottles, if you like, down the years purely just because of the pressure that they feel on the back nine. I think to get over the line is, I think, as a professional golfer, is probably a big relief and is probably harder than any other major. If
Fair,
you know, I think, yeah, I think more just because of I don't know, just it feels more than the other majors in my opinion.
fair. On obviously you were saying it's harder. Would you say it's a bit of an anomaly for Nick Faldo, for instance? He has he hasn't got as much tournaments overall compared to Rory, but he's one of the four that's done it back to back. And he's got quite a few Masters, like in comparison to his other majors. Like obviously Rory, the Masters was the last for him to one complete in general, and then two complete the Grand Slam. But Nick Faldo, he's one of the ones that, as much as majors he got, the Masters came a bit easier. If
Mhm.
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's he one of them where I think I don't know. I think it can, and like I said, I think experience playing there helps. So I think even Tiger Woods when he came back, the major he won was the Masters, and I think because you're at the same course, you experience where to miss, and if you do miss, how to get out of a
Hmm.
sticky situation. I think that's what Rory did really well in the first 2 days, where
Right,
statistically he was the least accurate driver off the tee
you're right,
in the whole field, and that's just experience of knowing how to get out of a sticky situation and manage to scramble. So I think it's definitely more of a thinking. Eh?
that's all good.
Oh, it's his laptop. That's why.
Oh
um,
yeah.
what was I saying? Oh yeah, so I think experience and takes you a long way in sort of knowing where and how to miss.
Hmm.
But I also think it's more of you really have to think your way around the course. And I think with modern day golfers, you see the likes of Bryson DeChambeau who drive it as far as wide as they can, and some courses they get away with it, whereas Augusta you just don't. I think you've really got to think and plan every shot. So I think,
Right,
and I think that's why it's probably the hardest to win because I think it is probably the most mentally draining one as well.
right,
Um, because you can't not think about every shot. Everything has to be, and I think that's why Justin Rose does really well there because he's really particular about his golf and every shot. You can tell he takes his time, and I think that's probably why them sort of golfers succeed and more than others, to be honest.
fair. I mean, with Rose just bringing him up, it's just unfortunate he hasn't got over the hump. Obviously, he's finished second place on a few occasions.
Yeah.
So, and I know you were kind of rooting for him in on this one when we thought Rory wasn't like gonna go back to back effectively.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people have a soft spot for him, just probably because what he does in the Ryder Cup. I think a
Hmm.
lot of Brits probably appreciate the effort he puts in for that, and also he's won one major, but he's talent wise again is probably worth two or three at least.
Mhm.
Um, and it's been a while since he's won one. So I think, again, similar to Rory, like talent-wise, Rory should, in my opinion, be close to double figures in majors. So I think it's that thing of just their career doesn't quite reflect, even though they've both achieved so much. I personally don't think. I think they should have achieved a little bit more, which is a shame, to be honest. But especially when you like the sportsman. But yeah, that's probably why.
I think with Rory, it was because I was listening to some of the pundits that I watch in general, like in terms of American sports, but they were speaking about the Masters over the weekend, and they were just saying like with Rory, obviously the first four majors he won it very young, and then he went on a very what an 11-year drought effectively
Yeah,
until he won won the Masters to effectively complete the Grand Slam. And it's like early on in his career, it was as if, all right, he's going to live up to those expectations. He's going to be the next Tiger Woods
yeah,
because he was doing ads with Tiger from very early, weren't he?
yeah,
In terms of those night campaigns and everything, and then just the effective drought. But now he's now won the back-to-back majors. You don't think, what, Rory's still only 37, so he can, if he goes like on a crazy stretch, he
yeah,
can not live up to expectations because he
yeah.
probably already has, but
I think with
achieve what people would
yeah,
expect him to as well.
but I think the thing with Rory as well, which is frustrating, is that he's even them 10 years he didn't win a major, he was still one of the best players in the world. He never really had a massive gap of a dip in form where you thought he's not got a chance. He always still went into every major of going, oh, you still fancy him a little bit to win it,
Yeah,
which is probably more frustrating. Where if you see others like Spieth who won three really quickly and then fell off the face of the earth, and then he's slowly coming back now. But Rory was always sort of a top
in the
five
mix.
golfer, and for whatever reason, just couldn't get over the line. So that's probably
Yeah,
even
because
more
I think
frustrating.
I think I heard like he, as world number one, he's got. I might be wrong, but it was like at least like 180 weeks as the world number one.
Yeah,
So to have that long of a duration whilst as world number one, obviously at different spells, but to also not win a major for a decade
yeah, it's
shows how good and consistent he was, like you said. And he was winning like a lot of the other tours as well. So
yeah,
during
it's
that
like,
stretch,
yeah. And on the PJ Tour, I think is he's won over 30 events, so it's not easy to win on the PJ Tour. So
yeah.
yeah, it's whatever reason he had that mental block, but now I think he's got over it. I mean, last year after the Masters, I thought he might have picked up another one last year, another major, but this year I'd be surprised if he didn't pick up at least another,
Mm,
to be honest.
no, fair, fair. I mean, he's now, like I said, he's one of four to win back-to-back Masters. So what? Jack Nicklaus, Tiger Woods, Nick Faldo, and now Rory to go back-to-back. So, and Tiger hadn't. Tiger's one was what, over 20 years ago, like.
Yeah, yeah, it's been a long time. Yeah,
So it just shows how hard it is. One, like you said, to actually win the Masters, but to go back to back. And I think going back to back in any sport is ridiculously hard, but that one, especially where the elites of the elites, if you catch them on a good weekend, then you're
yeah.
effectively,
I
it's
think
a bit peak.
that's the thing with golf, right? Is it's a sport where it's whittled down to the 90 best players in the world, but there's genuinely going into one probably at least 30 that could probably win it in terms of
Mhm.
talent and form. So I think it's so difficult to get over the line. I think I always go back to it. I think Tiger Woods is the best sportsman I've ever seen and most dominant, because I think it's one of the toughest sports to be dominant in because
Right.
competitiveness. Um, so yeah,
Yeah. No, that is fair. That is fair. Just another thing on Rory in terms of career Grand Slams. Did you know he was, well, you probably did know this, but as I was doing my research, one of six golfers ever just for a career Grand Slam.
yeah, yeah.
So
That's it.
that is that is crazy. And like we were saying, he probably should have more majors. And he likely will end up with, because he's currently on six. So he's like what, in sixth place all time
Yeah, I think there's
in terms of
a few on 6, isn't there? I think Phil Mickelson on 6 as well. Is he on 5?
yeah.
I think,
Phil's on 6, Faldo's on 6 as
yeah,
well.
we pick up another couple of kind of breaks him away from that of really
Yeah,
the top sort of 5 of all time. Uh,
because obviously Nicholas 18, Tiger 15, but then Player 9, Watson 8, Palmer 7. So he
yeah,
can get to,
if he picks
he
up
can,
a
by the time he retires,
yeah,
be third all time,
yeah.
realistically. So yeah. And then one more on Rory. Another thing that I was listening to, and I was like, this might, I don't think I posed it to you beforehand, but as if Rory retired now, who's had a better career, him or Phil Mickelson?
I personally I would say Rory. But again, it's hard because Phil played at top levels. He's like 55. Like he was, he's had a long longevity. So Rory's probably got another 10 years to sort of really
And
bridge the gap.
hence why I said if Rory retired today.
Oh, I'd probably
And
still go.
remember, Phil's competitor was Tiger.
That's what I'm saying. I think the thing is, if there was no Tiger Woods, Phil probably has close to 10 majors.
Yeah, fair.
But again, you've got Rory's, you've had, Scheffler, Spieth, Koepka had a
Mhm.
year. I think there's so many people who had dominant years in Rory's sort of
Yeah.
span that, it's been so competitive. Whereas Tiger had competitive feel, but I don't think it was quite as competitive now. Whereas it's
Do you think
kind
that's
of,
also because Tiger was just so goated?
that's the thing. I mean, Tiger was just another planet, right? I think,
Yeah.
um, but I'd still go Rory purely because what he's done on the PJ Tour and Ryder Cups as well. I think
Mhm.
he's had such big moments on the Ryder Cup and outside of majors. So I think I'd probably just edge it Rory, to be honest.
Fair, fair. And probably just from pure talent or uh how he entered the sport. Because again, like now opening up a bit in terms of that question, he's still got maybe another decade of his peak.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing, like, going back to talent-wise, I mean, Phil was unbelievable, but I think some of the things Rory can do with a golf ball is ridiculous, that only a Tiger could do. So I think
Right, cool.
there is similarities in the way that they could just pull out a wow moment, especially last year. Some of the shots he played last year were that you would only have ever seen Tiger do. So,
Mhm.
um, he just needs a few more majors to really reflect the talent that you've got, I think.
Yeah. I guess with his competitors now, like you mentioned a few with Scotty Chef, a lot of them are fairly young as well. So they can as much as he'll be at his peak, if they can maintain their level, they can be at a peak for a longer stretch as well.
I mean,
And like you said,
yeah.
Spive's coming back.
Well,
Or
Even Jordan Spieth
Steve,
won
sorry.
3 majors really quick, and he's one tournament away from the Grand Slam now,
Mm,
and he's been like that for 4 or 5 years. So he could be in Rory's position in another 10 years, and so I think,
fair.
so, yeah, it's a
Yeah,
competitive old game.
yeah. I mean, for you know me, I always love a Brit to win, but I may have had money on Scotty Chefs to pull it out of the bag, so I was kind of slowly rooting for him. But for him to bring it back and finish second, and
Yeah.
I think
Again,
because they're top two in the world right now, aren't they? So
yeah,
if it was a playoff, if it ended up being a playoff between the top two in the world, that would have been immense viewing as well.
and that's again, like, Scotty was nowhere near his best last week,
Literally,
and,
yeah.
finished a shot behind, and Roy wasn't at his best and managed to win. So it's a testament to them two that when they are at their best, they can absolutely rip up a golf course. But
Mhm.
I think them two are starting to sort of bridge the gap to the rest, I think.
Right. Fair. Fair. All right. Before we move on from golf, what are you looking forward to for the rest of the year in terms of the golfing calendar? Um, not anyone, somewhat anyone to watch out for who you think can win a major this year, bar Rory. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I mean all the majors. I'll watch all the majors. I think it's the PGA next.
Mhm.
I think I'd love Tommy Fleetwood to win a major. Um, he won the FedEx because it took him ages to win the PGA Tour, and he won the FedEx last year, which was sort of the crescendo of the season, basically. Uh,
Right.
so picked up a load of prize money for himself there, but yet to win a major. I'd love Tommy. I think Cameron Young, who
Mm.
I think he's just a birdie machine. So I think he's one of them where if you get a golf course that is scoreable and it's
Mhm.
not as punishable, I think he could win a major. Um,
I mean, he had a fairly good weekend though.
really good weekend, yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
because it was him that did the shot that I voice noted you straight away, the one that went up the slope and come back.
yeah.
Because even the commentators were super impressed with it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He if he gets on a roll of birdies, he can really really shoot low.
You're right.
But again, I think these young golfers all have the ability to tear up a golf course, but they just they can switch any moment of it can just fall apart. And I think that's where Scheffler and Rory can manage the bad phases better. Because over
Right,
4 days,
gotcha.
you're not going to play your best golf for 4 days. I think the way Rory managed his golf while he was playing poorly to stay
Mhm.
in contention enough. Same as Scheffler, because the first couple of days was so far away from his best, but was just close enough to when it finally kicked into gear to get close. Whereas I think Cameron Young on the first day he was 4 over through 9 holes, and then he did well to pull it back. But you're not going to win a major being 4 over on the first day, unfortunately, even though he got close. But um, so if there's a course that's less punishable, I could see like a Cameron Young or Lee, maybe he played well over the weekend, but again, I think he had a 10 on one hole, which is a bit of a blow up. So,
Mhm.
um, yeah, I mean, we'll see. It'll be an interesting year. I love when the Masters is because then the golf's really started. So,
Yeah. It's like, not to say it is, but it's like it officially kicks off the
yeah.
golfing calendar, yeah, effectively. So, yeah, no, it was a very interesting watch, and I'll be disturbing you further on that. Um, just a segue into another sport, which is the bread and butter, football, soccer for our American viewers and listeners. And your team, the team that you support, Liverpool FC. Just had to chat that in there. Who got eliminated from the Champions League last night to be fair, the defending champs, do you know what I mean? And the team that played the best football in Europe and have been for the last 2 seasons, PSG. And it looked I watched most of the game whilst at a game, so I was watching it on my phone. But I was like, you guys gave a good effort. I don't think you guys were gonna win anyway. But PSG weren't at that best and at their best, and that was partly because of how you guys played, although they should have dismantled you lot in the first leg. But how do you feel like your season has gone in general, following being the Premier League champions last season, and then you've got a couple legends that are leaving this season in Salah and Robertson, and your optimism for Liverpool going forward?
Um, I mean, it's not been a great season, personal opinion. I think I think Slot has got to go. If I'm being honest, I think he's just lost. I think he's lost a bit of the dressing room. I think he's lost a large part of the fan base.
Right.
Mainly because I don't think his press conferences help himself. Um,
I think that's partly the Dutch in general, because we
yeah,
had this problem with
and
Ten Hag and then somewhat Van Gaal, but
yeah,
yeah.
I think. I mean, I watched the first half.
No offense to our Dutch viewers and listeners, by the way,
Because I watched the first half yesterday, and I mean, I think he should have started Rio, to be honest.
Mhm.
Because if you take away his age, if you're going on form and ability, he would start. So I think the only reason he didn't was because he's young. But um, So I was literally watching the first half, knowing Isak was probably going to come off, and going hoping Rio was going to come on. And then as soon as he brought Gakpo on, I turned it off because I thought that was. So I mean, and going on last night, I think we were always going to give it a go, Anfield, but like you said, I never thought he was going to turn it around or get close to turning it around.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like with that game in particular, as long as PSG weathered whatever storm you threw at them, sorry, they were just gonna turn it around and then eventually get their goals to kill off the tie, and that's more or less what happened in that sense. And obviously unfortunate for Ekitike, who I believe has ruptured his Achilles, so he will not only be missing the World Cup, but basically out all of next season, more or less. They say 9 months, but it's probably a 12-month thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Thank-
and Ekitipe's been arguably, well, one, he's been your signing of the season. He's been one of your few bright sparks. So to see his season end like that, I think is a shame because one, just any player in general, but two, he's a real good player and he's going to miss a World Cup as well. And for you guys, the final stretch to get that Champions League qualification.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely been one of our best players, if not the best player. Consistently, I think.
I'd say Szoboszlai's been your most consistent, maybe.
Yeah, I think he's burnt out a little bit the last month or so, which
Yeah.
I expected because he literally was a one-man team, to be fair.
Yeah.
I think him and, Ekitike, well, like, Ekitike's just all-round game is just good to watch, I think. So, yeah, it's a shame to see him go off last night, and especially even though Isak's back, he's far, far, far away from being sharp, so I don't think...
Yeah. Even for the rest of the season, we're not going to see the best of him.
Especially the form Salah's in, like, you just question where goals are going to come from, to be honest.
Yeah.
That was the thing last night, especially, like, I think it's time for Salah to go, and we move on and try and build in a different direction. But I still would have started him last night purely because you look at the squad, and if someone was going to score, it was going to be him.
Yeah.
Champions League night, you don't really look at anyone else and go, "Oh, get a feeling they're going to score."
With this current team, especially.
Yeah, so
I was surprised to not see him start, to be fair.
yeah, so I think his slots team selections have just been strange. Even I think he brought Gomez on and then took him off 20 minutes later.
Yeah,
Well,
I saw that.
2-0 down. Why he's bringing Gomez on anyway?
Yeah.
Just bring Rio on earlier. That's what is annoying. You just wasted a sub. So, yeah, I think he's scrambling and overthinking things, and he's probably... I don't see it, especially the money he spent this year. I don't. Too much needs doing to bring it back now. So I think we just got a clean slate, I think.
Fair. So even if you guys get Champions League, he should still go.
Yeah, I think so. Just because the drop off from last year, and again, this is his team now. He didn't really have his team last year. It was sort of a back end of Klopp's team.
Oh, it was still Klopp's team because the only player you guys signed last year was Chiesa, and he didn't really contribute. But on that, do you think? Because me, I do generally like to give managers time. I'm always patient with managers. Do you feel him winning the league in his first season, even though it was Klopp's team, earns him enough credit in the bank if you guys get Champions League this year? Because he's still, as much as I banter you guys about basically nearly spending 500 million, he's still kind of molding his team. And you guys have had like a lot of your only consistent players that have played throughout the season, whether that's injury or poor form related, is Van Dijk and arguably Szoboszlai and probably Gravenberch. Like they've been your ever presence. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's also
like, you guys have had some injuries.
I think it's the brand of football as well. Though. I think they're hard to watch. If I'm being honest, now I think it is a lot slower. It was. I mean, not many managers are going to play the same way as Klopp anyway. But last year, we still attacked quickly and entertaining to a certain point. Whereas this year, we do look so short of ideas going forward that and there just doesn't seem to be an urgency to one to actually go out and win a game and take about the scruff of the neck. It just seems like we'll keep the ball and just hope we win or hope something happens. So I think that's why a lot of fans are probably at the end of their patience with him, to be honest.
Fair. If Slot goes, is there? I don't think the manager market's that great at the moment, but if Slot goes, is there anyone in particular you want? There's probably one big name linked with you guys already, ex-player. So
I think the obvious one would obviously be a lot, but I think if he didn't, I personally, I mean, about a few weeks ago, I would have sat Slot and got Gerrard him to the end of the year, especially when we were in that really poor form. I think it would have been a good time to just do it because it couldn't have got any worse.
right,
We didn't look like we were going to get Champions League really with the form we were in. So it was one of them to just test the waters. If he does poorly, the crowd's lifted anyway because he's obviously a legend. But
fair. Yeah,
if
it's
he
true.
does well,
Basically, the
bonus. There
ups
was
will carry.
I didn't really see a negative to it, to be honest, because we were so
Fair.
bad at the time. So it couldn't get much worse. And then if he did do poorly and you just look in the summer where it's probably a bit more of a market and easier to get a new manager in.
Yeah. No, that is true. Obviously, Alonso's been the big name that's linked with you guys, the probably the odds-on favorite if Slot does get the sack. I think with the World Cup, it's making things a bit harder in terms of the manager market. Like uh, me and my boys in our United chat were literally having this conversation the last couple of days, even again today, um, because just for instance, Nagelsmann, both clubs could go for him, but we know he will want to manage. Well, he's going to manage Germany during the World Cup. If he's to come into a new team, he's not going to have a preseason,
Yeah. Yeah.
which isn't ideal for a new manager. So,
I just think Gerald
yeah,
does
but
something similar to what Carrick is doing, whereas you chuck him in when it is so
yeah,
poor and it can't get worse. So he can only bring a feel good vibe to the club. So I think it was just worth a punt, in my opinion.
yeah, no, sure. Because now United board have to really well, apparently they're really considering Carrick, and rightfully so. Whether I think or United fans think he should get the job or not, because of the job he's done up to this stage, and if we're to get Champions League, he needs to be in real contention. Because
Yeah.
again, it's somewhat an overachievement thing. So yeah, on to your legendary players that are leaving the club. Mo Salah and Andy Robertson. One, how do you feel that they're leaving? It's if it's the right time, and just their whole tenureship at your football club and what they've done, and somewhat where they rank in your Liverpool legends.
I mean, Salah's stats and what he's done obviously speak for himself. Like, I think he's definitely in the conversation, probably one of Liverpool's best players ever to play in the Premier League. I think it's
Mhm.
probably he probably a good argument to say that he is, just off of what he's done and trophies
Mm.
and goals and stuff. So, but again, like I said, I think our game evolved so much around him with Trent there as well that I think without the pair of them, I think it is probably time to start the rebuild on that right hand side properly.
Mhm.
Because our game was so evolved, right? And he has such a unique way of playing that is out on that right, where you don't really have another player similar to the way he plays. So I think it's probably a harder replacement than what people think. So I think it is probably the time for him to go, and probably similarly with Robertson as well, that he was obviously so good for so long with Trent.
Mhm.
But I think, I mean, and Kirk I'm not his biggest fan, but he has got better the last month or so.
He seems to be settling in a bit more now.
Yeah, so I think again it's probably time because Robertson probably doesn't want to sit and watch and go play for Spurs in the Championship. So
That will be interesting.
Yeah. So, but, I mean, yeah, both definitely top. Salah's definitely probably top 3 of all time in the Premier League for Liverpool, and Robertson's probably definitely in the conversation of top 10, or at least the best left back that we've had in the Premier League. So,
Yeah,
but
I mean, Robertson will go down maybe as a top 3 to 5 Premier League left back in general,
yeah,
and maybe a top 10 fullback in because Robertson, the balance, him and Trent, they the way they complemented each other, which is weird to say for a fullback pairing, was insane. Like, I used to say the team kind of played through Trent, and that's the team in general.
mm,
But Robertson's uh, being so solid defensively and very good going forward brought just the balance in
yeah,
the team. And like, and in relation, you mentioned in Trent for Salah. Salah wasn't your explosive winger. He's more forward. He's explosive, but he's not a winger
yeah,
type.
yeah,
He's a forward type. And Trent wasn't the bombarding right back. You'd think he should be given the space that Salah would give his fullback, but their connection, their telepathy was just A1. Like Trent would know where Salah is, vice versa. They won't get in each other's
it
spaces.
was like Salah having his own personal creator like behind him. That's
Yeah.
kind of what it was like. That he gave Trent so much space to do what he does, and Salah could make any run, and Trent would put it for him. I think that it's a totally different dynamic if you have Frimpong playing behind him or
Mm,
Gomez. I think it works slightly with Szoboszlai being there because he can play it sort of similar to Trent,
yeah.
being a midfield.
But then Salah's not the same level he
Yeah,
was.
exactly. Yeah, and also Szoboszlai has to play midfield because he's our best player at the minute. So
Yeah. I mean, all good things come to an end. Thank God both of them are leaving from a United fan's perspective. Because I think as an opposition player, if I'm not mistaken, and it's annoying to say this, Salah's got the most goals against Man United, if I'm not
yeah,
mistaken, as an opposition player in the Premier League. And early on, he didn't really score against United. Then he
yeah,
just, once he did,
yeah. I feel like there's always a thing, wasn't there, of like, oh, he's not never scored against United, and then
yeah.
one, it was just relentless. Yeah,
Then once he did, the floodgates open, but it's good to see the back of them. But at the same time, as just a viewer of the beautiful game, it is great to see great players, regardless if they're at your ops team and stuff like that. And the way you guys played on the club, especially. Um, and that's why like Robinson was so good. It's like Robinson was a perfect player for Klopp
yeah. Just the engine here.
in all, yeah, in all facets. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see if you guys spend the most again this summer with 2 players leaving, especially leaving for free. I think I saw a slot, sorry, say something about that. But and it'll be interesting to see who their replacements are because, like you said, Salah's very hard to replace, even though he's not the same level he was. Just replacing him
Yeah,
itself will be a big task. And there's now you want to maintain being at the elite world level. There's only a few that are of similar quality or better who are probably unattainable right now, i.e. Michael Olise, well, Bayern Munich's.
yeah,
The board have said, yeah, he's going to be stupid expensive. And then obviously with this, when you guys made the Kirkes signing, I said it was good that you kept Robertson at the time because he was potentially going to leave last summer. But it was good that even if Robertson's not playing as much, he can somewhat guide him. Um, and help him like show the ropes
yeah,
as and stuff like that. Because sometimes that transition stuff is good for players coming in when there's a bit of pressure, and then it'll probably be the same for your centre back that got injured, and if you're to buy another one in the summer for in terms of Van Dijk's replacement. And stuff. And last one on that, even your keeper, Mama, I just call him Mama because
yeah,
4 years long. Like you guys signing him, it was a good backup in case Allison leaves because he can be a number one.
yeah,
Like at Valencia, I thought he was a really good keeper anyway. So at the time when you guys signed him, I was surprised that he was willing to sit on the bench.
yeah.
But
But I think
his transition could be smooth once Allison does
Yeah,
leave.
but that's the thing is, we had that Klopp team, but they are sort of all getting to
Getting on.
at the same time. Virgil isn't getting any younger. Allison's, even though he's a keeper, with Mama, whatever his name is, coming in, like, he's not going to sit on the bench probably next year or the year after that waiting. So I
Mhm.
think Allison and Van Dijk are probably gonna. It wouldn't surprise me if Allison goes this summer.
Yeah, so
Uh,
especially he's quite injury prone
yeah,
now as well.
and Verge again, maybe 1 year, one more year.
At
And
the at a top level. Yeah.
um, so it is. So again, I feel a bit sorry for Slot because there is a big rebuild to be done. Um, but the way he spent his money this year, I'm not sure if he's the man to do
I mean, you seem to be sure bantering me at the time. You're like, "Oh, yeah, oh, that's blah, blah." And before we move on from Liverpool, imagine Klopp. If Klopp put his name in the hat to come back, what would you say?
Oh yeah, without question.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fair. Yeah, again, Klopp, what a guy. We should have had him. But he didn't like our board. Um, a bit of rugby, obviously. Currently the Women's Six Nations is going on. I don't know if you follow that, but just and then the men's one finished last month. Um, and you were saying that you proper kept were in touch with the games, i.e., watching practically most of them. What was it that caught you in terms of this particular Six Nations, and then the winners being France as well,
I think
and England's disappointment?
I think this Six Nations took me a bit by surprise. I think as a kid growing up, I always sort of dipped my toe. I played rugby at school, but I always dipped my toe into it and sort of watching it and watching sort of World Cups and Six Nations and stuff. But
Mhm.
the score lines were never as big as what they were in this Six Nations from my memory of it. I think it used to be the game used to be a lot slower and taking more
Right.
penalties, and whereas now it just feels. I think to me now football and rugby have almost completely
Switched.
switched in terms of football always used to be the quick, free flowing game, and rugby was set pieces and scrums and line outs. Whereas to me now football can be hard to watch, in my opinion.
Yep.
Um, and that always used to be rugby, whereas now I watch rugby and I just think it's a lot more free flowing,
Mhm.
ball in hand, trying to score tries, even I watched a bit of club rugby. I watched Northampton Saints their last two games, and they've been unbelievably entertaining to watch. So I think
Mhm.
the the two games have just seemed to switch, and I think they just seem a lot less fearful of making a mistake than what you do watching football. I think nowadays. Um,
Do you think on that year is probably why there was some big scores, but also a lot of upsets in the Six Nations? Because, like we say, well, when me and you spoke previously, England were the favourites to win it, and they had an ultra disappointing campaign. Literally, what winning one game and losing four, and then Wales are always usually in the mix, and again they finished bottom of the table.
yeah, I think. But again, I think it showed where England were in terms of their coaching. I think they were, in my opinion, the most boring team to watch. Not just because they were
Right.
losing games, but just because it was a lot of box kicking, a lot of you know safe plays, if you like. Whereas
Mhm.
Scotland, for example, when they beat France and they were nearly 40 points up in the first half or early in the second half because they just absolutely blew them away in terms of just the pace they played at. And I think that's probably why there were so many upsets, because I think teams caught some of the teams off guard because of the pace they were playing at and the
Right.
expression they played with. Um, whereas England were just very methodical, so they could almost contain them. Teams could contain them a bit better.
Mhm.
Um, and even Wales, even though I mean they've been poor for the last couple of years, to be fair, but even going forward attacking wise, they scored some really good, entertaining tries.
You're right, yeah.
And it was only sort of the last game where England played France, and they kind of took the shackles off and nearly beat them because they actually wanted to express themselves. And I think any sports fan watching sport, I think you just want to see top athletes express themselves. That's what's entertaining. Um,
Yeah.
so I think that's what was good
No,
about the
definitely.
Six Nations, was just you just watching athletes at their best just have free reign to create and do what they do best, really.
Yeah, no, definitely, definitely. Because I think England probably, with the way they finished off, the way they started off the Six Nations, because they battered Wales their first game
Yeah,
was 48-6 or something like that, and then just it's crazy. They lost every other game, but their points
they
differential was
back
still plus.
Wales. Yeah,
Yeah, because of the Wales game. But again, like you said, with the France game, final game for them, there's no expectations because they knew they couldn't win. They went for it, even though they still lost. That game, finished 48-46 or
yeah,
something like
a
that.
point or two. Yeah, and I think
Crazy high scoring. And we did see, like you said, because teams were more expressive and teams were catching other teams off guard, we did see those kind of scoring games where teams will either just blow out a team or there'll just be some high scoring games from both teams on that front. So yes, that is because I was saying to you, oh, it was probably a surprise that France won it, but you were saying beforehand that with England they were one of the
yeah,
ones too.
I think um, Northern Hemisphere teams. I think France is the best. I think, in would be general opinion. I think for the World Cup, you're probably edging towards South Africa, but I think in terms of Northern Hemisphere, I think you're probably going France are probably a step above everyone else.
You're right.
But then England had a great year, like I was saying. I don't know, I think it was unbeaten or won their last 10 or something before the Six Nations. So again,
That's why I was surprised by their
yeah,
campaign because there was a lot of confidence going in because of how they played. Obviously, how Itoji's been since he's been captain.
yeah,
Because obviously, was it last year when he led is it the Lions, if I'm not
yeah,
mistaken?
yeah, yeah,
And then, so a lot of that people thought would channel into the England squad, which effectively it did for a period of time when they were unbeaten for a while.
yeah. So I think there was a lot of hope in England for him to do well, but it was always going to be England France that were going to have that crescendo at the end against each other in Paris, but it just didn't work out that way.
That game was meant to be the game for the Marvels for the
And
championship.
maybe it wasn't, because it would have been. Imagine that game if it was for the Six Nations and you had a penalty in the last minute to win. Would have.
Yeah, given how the game went and then the score as well,
So
that would have been insane. It's basically like I'm trying to think of a high scoring cup final or Champions League final where teams are just
yeah, it's a shame, but I think is it World Cup? No, World Cup's next year. I think, isn't it? Rugby World Cup next year.
I feel like
Or
it's next year.
winter, was it? Yeah. So
Let me check. I feel like it's next year. Yeah, it's in Australia.
yeah. So
27. Jeez, fair play. Ugh. Boy, the rugby. Oh, all right. Some boxing. Obviously, we had Tyson Fury come back off his layoff or another retirement, I should say, where he was out for, if I'm not mistaken, I'd like to say about 16 months. I might be wrong.
yeah.
That what did you think of his comeback fight and then the potential to fight AJ, even though AJ didn't budge, him and Hearn didn't budge to Fury and Turkey Al Sheikh's
I mean,
semantics.
it was a typical Fury performance. I think I mean, he did what he did pre-music. That he always knew how to win. It wasn't
Mhm,
always the most spectacular or the most entertaining, but that's the way he boxes, and obviously he's very good at what he does.
mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how good the opponent was. Um, he was pretty gassed after a few rounds. So,
Yeah.
but again, the Fury Joshua fight would be interesting. It's a shame it's not happened 5 years earlier, but
Yeah.
regardless of titles and stuff, it's even if people say they won't tune in, I think they will.
Everyone
Yeah,
will. They'll sell out the stadium. They'll sell out whatever pay-per-view. Well, you can't sell out, but like they'll make crazy money on pay-per-view, like everything.
yeah. So, I, it's still hard to pick a winner.
Mhm.
Um, I think if it was 5 years ago and they were both at their best or when it should have happened, I probably would have leaned more towards AJ.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just because I think when he was peak athleticism,
Yeah.
he was just such an athlete and so quick and powerful that I think even though Fury is a great boxer, I think that carried AJ a lot of how athletic he
Mm.
was and how athletic he was compared to a lot of others. I think now I'd probably lean more towards Fury just because AJ's not quite as quick as what he was. He's
Right.
not quite as free flowing as well. I
Yeah.
think ghosts of the past of being knocked out and stuff
Mm.
have made him a bit less free flowing. So I think Fury would probably just cuddle him to a points decision, to be honest. It's my
Fair.
opinion on how it would go.
I mean, being knocked out does it on boxers that bounce back and don't get knocked out again, for instance. I feel like they don't get enough credit
Mm.
because being knocked out takes a toll on practically most of their careers, like from a mental standpoint and then maybe from a physical point of view as well. Um, and that's what I was kind of surprised when you said if it was 5 years ago, AJ, because I felt like at that point then Fury was, especially the Wilder fight. Obviously, he put on the pounds, but he also was stronger.
Yeah,
And that kind of surprised me. I think I maybe even said it to you at the time. I was like, bro, why is Fury so strong? Obviously, Wilder claims he cheated and stuff
yeah, but I
like
also
that.
don't. I think them Fury Wilder fights are interesting because obviously Fury looked unbelievable in the second fight
Yeah,
and still looked very good in the third fight. But again, having seen Wilder post them fights
mm,
afterwards, I think Wilder was blown up to be a bit better than what he was, which made the
which is
performances better.
true, but sorry to cut you off. Those fights for me took a toll on Wilder's career.
True, they've probably taken a big toll on Fury as well, to be honest.
Yeah, true.
Um,
But like Wilder's not been the same since
no,
Fury, because Wilder hadn't been knocked down like that.
yeah, but even he seems a bit gun shy now to pull the trigger to fight.
Yeah,
And I think he's a bit again similar to AJ, where he's probably more worried about what's coming back his way than what he
it feels like
was.
they've lost that evil
Yeah,
spark in a good way.
yeah. But I don't know. I just like the way Wilder could still get to Fury and put him down, even in his good performances, like the third fight.
Yeah,
I think AJ was better than Wilder at that time,
yeah,
and I think if Wilder could have got to him and put him down, I think AJ would have had more in the tank to
right, got you.
maybe have. I mean, we'll never know, but
Mm,
because, like I said, Fury had such a knack of knowing how to win.
bro, his recovery is
Yeah.
stupid.
So
Like Fury can get knocked down and he's not phased.
yeah, yeah,
It's just like, oh, you could just say he's lost his balance. Obviously, he hasn't. He's been knocked down perfectly fine. But yeah, no, it's an interesting. It is a shame. Even if the fight happens, it's gonna be how many years too late. But again, everyone's gonna tune in.
yeah. I mean, because I think Usyk chooses AJ to win between who's obviously
Well,
both twice. So
and he's been training him.
yeah,
Because even in his press conference for his fight next month, it might have been asked to him, but I've seen the clip of him saying, obviously he has AJ to win, but
yeah. So I mean, it will and always will be a 50-50 fight. I think you'll always have
Yeah.
split opinions of who people think are going to win, and it genuinely is close because they are so different, and it is
Yeah, yeah.
whichever style comes out on top of at the end of the night. So, like I said, even if people say they're not going to tune in, they will tune in.
Yeah,
Boxing
facts,
fan
facts.
will watch that fight.
Mate, boxing fan or non-boxing fan, everyone, because it's true. Even peak and non-peak, they're both. It was probably still 50-50 throughout in terms of who people would choose. So, um, and just on another fight on that card, Conor Benn versus Regis Prograis. However you pronounce his name, apologies. First of all, obviously, Regis has retired after the fight, and the rumors were supposedly true about him carrying quite a few injuries pre-fight to that fight, and you could kind of see it. Like, I think I tweeted, was it round one or round two? I was like, why did he take this fight? Then
Yeah,
people were like, for the money, and I was like, I know that is the answer, but like at the same time, which I completely get. But for me, I just didn't think of the money. I was just like, why is he
yeah,
still fighting? And then towards the end, like middle of the fight, for him to go the duration surprised me one.
yeah.
But like I was like, I don't know if this is a decent performance from him or just a performance from Conor Benn where again you feel underwhelmed.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think, other than a huge payday, I don't think Conor Benn came out of that fight with a lot, to be honest.
Mhm,
Like I said, it was pretty underwhelming. But again, I know Eddie Hearn was saying that he just doesn't look strong at that weight anymore at all.
mm,
Having bulked up for the Eubank fights to then drop back down, it is going to take a massive toll on the body. And he did look slight, and he didn't look
mm,
as ferocious as what he did pre-Eubank fights when he was fine at that weight and he was blowing a lot of people away.
mm.
Um, so again, I mean, I don't think he's world title level, if I'm being honest, unless he gets really lucky with a vacant title or whoever. But any of the big names, I don't give him much of a hope, to be honest. But again, he's earned a lot of money doing without a world title, so
Yeah, no,
navigated his
yeah,
career
yeah.
really well, to be fair to him.
He has. He's definitely utilised his name and fair play to him on that front. He basically answered the next question that I was going to ask about whether he could be a world champion. Because even it's I feel like you get it in boxing anyway within people in your weight class that will watch your fight and that will say, you're no level for me, you're no match for me. But other boxers within different weight classes, current and past boxers, none of them rated his performance. And for them to be that vocal about it I was like, ooh, I think, again, I might have tweeted that at the time. I
Mm.
was like, a lot of boxers were not rating his performance and the way they were vocal about it. I think that also comes into play with a lot of them believe he definitely cheated on his own accord years ago
Yeah,
when he got the drugs ban. Um, but yeah, I don't think his name's still there, but his name may get him a world title fight because a world champion may
yeah.
think
It's
from the
payday for the other
financial.
fighter, innit? I think
Exactly.
if you're a world champion looking at that, you're not going to turn down a fight against him if it's offered to you. So I think he'll get a shot.
Garcia tweeted saying, "Yeah, let's make it happen."
Yeah, I think he wants Ryan Garcia, but I think Garcia probably. I think he flattens him quite quickly, to be honest.
Fair.
Yeah, I think the Eubank fights were probably the best and worst things that happened to him in his career. I think best because they'll be the fights he'll be remembered for because
Hmm.
they were huge, going off the back of what their dads did, and it was a great win for him, and he earned loads of money, and it's a good name to have on the resume. But I
Hmm.
think it's detriment if he was going to win a world title to put on the muscle, drop back down. That's only detrimented him, I think, in terms of aspirations to win a world title, in my opinion.
Fair. because in terms of the champs themselves, I don't again, like you said, you think Garcia will flatten him. I don't even think he'll get close to Shakur.
Yeah,
Shakur will probably do what he did to Tio, the same that he to Conor. Shakur might he's not got the knockout power that people want, but he might even knock him out because he'll just outskill him that he's gonna be hitting him so much.
but Ben even it was a 10th round, he looked tired as well. He
Yeah,
nowhere
yeah,
near as throwing combinations like he was against Eubank. Like he looked drained. That he could easily be put away by not necessarily a big puncher.
yeah.
It's a shame because it's like what
I
happened to
mean,
Kell Brook when he went up to Golovkin and then dropped back down. Like he was just never the same. And I think moving up weight takes a lot. Moving up and then dropping back down takes a lot more out of a fight than what people probably think. And even though Eubank never knocked him out, I think the punishment is probably
mm,
taken because they weren't quiet fights, were they? To say the least, they were
yeah,
pretty brutal. So I think, even though he's young, I think they've aged his career
yeah.
fights.
Even on Eubank itself, those fights took a lot out of him
Yeah,
for him to
I think they both
drain the weight.
aged a lot in them
Yeah.
career wise.
Me personally, I don't think Eubank should have taken the second one because of the damage on his career. One being older, and then he had to drop. But then on Conor Benn, like you said, it was probably more from a finance point of view. One creating those fights in terms of what their dads did, because both their fights will go down as like, depending on if AJ and Fury do fight, the biggest British boxing fights of the modern generation. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
they'll always have that staple hold, or people will remember. The whole world tuned in for their fights, and it was both non-title fights, and they
yeah.
sold out the stadiums and stuff. So yeah, I
No,
mean,
exactly. They were huge events. So you can understand why neither turned them down.
mhm,
And I think they will be the highlights of their careers. Fighting
yeah,
for their family names and whatnot. So I think that will be what they're remembered for, to be honest.
mm, fair, fair. Well, it's interesting that neither of us and many don't think Conor Benn's gonna win a world title. Um, it's so crazy because I think I even said to you the day before, I was like, bro, I didn't even know both of them were like Fury and Ben.
Yeah,
Like obviously hasn't really done a lot of promotion himself, and the talks with, I knew he had a fight coming up because obviously um the stuff from his dad saying he don't want to be in his like corner, all that stuff. But like Ben, it was just like, oh shit, he's fighting.
yeah. I knew fights were on, but I didn't have a clue when they were. Or
Yeah. So what you said, is that one of the dogs?
yeah, he's eating my sock.
Nah. And I'd say not to wrap it up, but final one. We mentioned the F1 at the very beginning of the episode. Um, what's your thoughts been on like the opening races, and then how the season is going to look for how things are going to look for the rest of the season? Obviously, we've not had two of the races because of the current conflicts within the world, but yeah.
I mean, it's interesting. I think a lot of the new cars divide opinion quite a lot.
Hmm.
I don't. I think, look, with a new regulation change, I think there's always going to be hiccups and challenges.
Hmm.
I think the concept's fine. Like, I think the racing is better. I think the races are better to watch.
Right.
One sec. Let me get these dogs out. They're having a fun.
Oh, that's cool. If the dog wants to come on camera, hey, time to shine.
I could pick this one out.
Hello.
Come on. There you go. Um, yeah, the regulations, the cars I'm not massively against. I think
Hmm.
the races are better to watch.
Right.
Because a lot of the time last year, it was whoever went into the turn one would just stay first, and that was that. It was quite
Unless it was Lando.
and that's So it was quite. They weren't the best races to watch in the previous generation of cars, and I think you start relegation is you're always going to have big gaps, big field spreads because
Mhm,
we had Red Bull in the last set that were miles ahead for ages, and then McLaren finally caught up. And I think we'll gradually get the same. Like we're already seeing McLaren last weekend with Oscar. I think on another day probably could have won that race in
mhm.
Japan before the safety car. So even though Mercedes look on another planet, I think by the end of the year we could potentially have again a few teams able to win a race.
I mean, we've seen McLaren do it in recent history where they could just start off slowly and then during the season
Yeah,
turn it around.
I think now McLaren are interesting that they really back themselves in the way they develop a car. I think they're really confident in their team and their upgrades. Whereas, like if you hear rumors that McLaren are bringing upgrades, you know that car is getting quicker by a big chunk. If Ferrari say they're bringing upgrades, you're 50-50 whether it's going to make them worse or better. So McLaren have definitely built a strong factory team, and so
Mhm.
it wouldn't surprise me if by the end of the year McLaren are at least level with Mercedes, to be honest.
Fair, fair. And do you think we're not even going to really talk about Ferrari too much because Ferrari, you got to take them every race as it comes. It's like Man United. It's like take it every match day as it comes. Because, like you said, if Ferrari say they're bringing in upgrades, you'll be like, okay, cool. We need to see it consist. It could be great for one race, and then the following race it will just be absolute pants. But do you think Kimi Antonelli can win this championship? Obviously, he's leading now, but it's very early in the season. It's only been 3 races, but he's leading his teammates, George Russell.
I think with how long the season is now, we've lost 2 races. I think over the course of a year, I'd still back George. I think
Mhm,
consistency wise and experience, but then on the other hand, I think this break's definitely helped George because it stopped Kimi's momentum. 4-week break. But if Kimi comes back in Miami, sticks it on pole and wins the race, I think momentum is in sport and in all sports. I think can would play a huge part. And I think George, especially in F1, I think drivers probably question themselves a lot more than in other sports because it's such fine margins, in
mhm,
qualifying and in the race. And I think you look at Lewis, that he'll be flying in one practice session, massively overthink things, change the car, and he's half a second off Charles all of a sudden. So I think it depends, but I would always back George. I think, but I would love Kimi. I'd love to see Kimi do it, but um, again, he's still second season. There's a lot of mistakes to be made.
yeah, no, definitely. It's interesting that you said this I say mini break could end up being it's gonna end up being a month, will probably help George because even because Kimi could have continued that momentum if the other 2 races weren't called off, but even with Miami coming up, after Miami, there's another 3-week break till the Canadian Grand Prix, and then we're gonna get those races going in. So it's those ones where Kimmy's going to have to stay locked in. Like, but it's gonna be hard because he's so young. Again, he's more likely to make mistakes. And these breaks does also somewhat give the other teams an unexpected chance to develop their
Yeah,
cars even further
that's the thing. Yeah,
in season. Like this 4-week break, for instance, no one expected it.
that's the thing. I think these 2 races that have been postponed or cancelled, that I think the only like it benefits every team other than Mercedes because that was
Yeah.
2 races where they were probably going to get another one too and be further
Mhm.
ahead. So
Yeah, no, it's true.
these teams can now catch up more, and there's only been 3 races so far. Yeah, 3 races so
Yeah,
far. So
3 races.
in the grand scheme of 24 races in Canada, it's not a lot, really, when you see how quickly
Yeah,
it changed last year with Oscar and Lando. So,
yeah, that's true.
um, yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to, and that's the thing. I think when it starts to get more competitive, whether say if George and Kimmy have a bad weekend, they're still finishing on the podium because the car's so quick. Whereas when other teams catch
Mhm.
up and they have a bad weekend, similar to what you saw at the end of last year with Oscar, that when he had a bad weekend, it was no longer podium, it was a fifth or a sixth.
Yeah.
Orlando was winning. So I think it'll be interesting then to see if Kimmy can maintain that level. Because
Mhm.
you'd back George to, like, George always seems to maximize the car 9 times out of 10,
Yeah.
especially when it's close, especially in qualifying. So it'll be interesting. I think it'll be an entertaining year. So I'm looking forward to it.
No, it's true. The one thing though, in terms of the consistency, even though it's been early, all 3 races, Kimmy's got a podium, George hasn't.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
So,
But
you
then
know,
George led like
um,
the first like 8 sessions, didn't he? Like all from Q1, Q2, Q3 of Australia, right, and
yeah,
then up until like the last Q3 of the second race, China. So
yeah, no, it's true. In terms of the teams, not teams, but obviously in the midfield, for instance, Gasly started the season well.
yeah,
Just in racing in general, do you think like he can maintain that, or any of the lower teams can somewhat? It's hard, actually. It's hard to ask that question because the teams that are low have had few DNFs because these new regs. They're feeling it. For instance, a lot of people are being more patient in terms of the car development and stuff. But do you think there's anyone that could somewhat surprise
I
as the
th-
season goes along?
I think Alpine. I think with that Mercedes engine, I think they kind of the more they understand it,
Mm,
and the car looks decent anyway. So I think
yeah.
they can only. I think they'll solidify probably being the best of the midfield this year. Um,
Hmm.
because I think I saw. I don't see Red Bull taking huge steps forward. Um,
All right.
Mainly because I think I saw on Twitter or X yesterday or the last couple of days that their engine's actually not far behind Mercedes' engine in terms of power, so they don't get engine upgrades potentially.
Who's that? Alpine?
Red Bull.
Oh, Red Bull.
So I
Sorry.
think it is genuinely that the car is slow rather than necessarily the engine.
Right.
I think they've got a lot of work to do in terms of aerodynamics and chassis wise, whereas Alpine, I think, probably aren't using that Mercedes engine to its full potential yet because they probably don't understand
Right.
it. And I think the car looks decent. Like it's not, they're not a million miles behind Ferrari
Hmm.
really in qualifying or race trim. So Alpine will be good. I think Aston Martin need to improve. To be honest, it's an absolute shambles. What's going on?
Yeah.
I mean, they haven't got a good engine or a good car. So, um, but again, it'll be interesting to see how Hadjar does for the rest of the year in comparison to Max. Because in qualifying he's been quite
I,
close.
yeah. No. I hope. And he's been a bit unlucky in I think one of the
Races,
races.
yeah,
I hope he does finally show Red Bull that like Max is gonna have a real
yeah.
competitive.
If Max has a poor
dri-
session, then he will beat him. Not, you know what I mean.
yeah,
So,
second driver.
um, so that would be a nice, interesting thing to see. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, Behrman's had a decent start as well. I think the first couple
He has to be fair.
Haas are interesting if Ferrari managed to upgrade the engine a little bit mid-season, see how they get on. Um, I think we'll see a lot of teams sort of up and down, and there won't really be a set order a lot of the time. I think a team will bring upgrades, they'll jump, the team will catch up, and then it will sort of bob up and down. They're all sort of battles that they've got going on. So it'll be a good
Yeah,
year, I think.
I think like Miami race won't tell us too much in terms of the teams in general, but I think once a couple races after Miami, we'll start to see teams form into shape,
Yeah.
and then we'll see how they continue to operate with these regs, and then the car development through the season. All right, cool. We're gonna wrap up this episode now, but before we do our song of the week. So, what is your song of the week? Or if you want me to go first, I
Yeah,
can.
I'll have a look.
Cool. My song of the week is "Horns in the Sun." It's been a previous song of the week of mine, I think maybe last year from one of my holidays, but yeah, when I was out. It's a house song, merry, fantastic, great song. Great on holiday as well. So, there's a lot of artists by so DJ Kent, blah blah, and I'm not gonna go through the other artists, but yeah, Horns in the Sun.
I'm gonna go with off the back of Coachella. I've been listening to a lot of Justin Bieber to and from work.
Mhm.
I was up at 7 a.m. Sunday morning to watch his set, so I'm gonna go
Fair play.
with. I'm gonna go "Sorry" by Justin Bieber. That's what I sang.
Okay.
Yeah, little
Okay.
throwback.
That's a good song actually, to be
Yeah,
fair.
when he was sitting there watching his younger self. Yeah, it was a cool set. So
I do need to watch it because just the whole concept of it, it was
yeah,
refreshing from what I've seen. So
yeah, it was quite
yeah, no.
simple, but it worked well.
Yeah.
Having it just on YouTube
Sometimes
was quite cool, to be honest.
yeah, sometimes simple's the way. People you don't need to overcomplicate things or bring things back to a bit of normality, especially with their stardom and star power.
Yeah,
So yeah. But my boy Josh, thank you very much for joining this episode. Fantastic conversation that we had. I hope our viewers and listeners enjoyed this one. We'll definitely get you on the pod again, especially with Jacob and Dej, and talk more. F1 we can probably chat about that anytime in the season. I know you're going to be on my case on the golf, so I got to keep up with that. But yeah, my boy, and obviously you like to banter me about United when we're suffering, but all we need to get is Champions League and then we start fresh in the summer. But yeah, no, thank you very much for joining us. Great guest, and hopefully you will be back on the pod, like I said.
yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me. It's been
Top man, top man. To our viewers, listeners, tell a friend to tell a friend, and also please like and subscribe. And we shall keep on delivering for you guys on Through a Different Lens, because that's what we do. Do you know what I mean? Versatility at its finest. But hey, Josh, again, thank you very much. People, then, Joe, I am signing out.
there you see ya.